Hello, everybody. That was an embarrassing start, huh? I did press all of the correct buttons, just not in the correct order.
It happens.
Difficult. I'd like to welcome you all to the show. And I would like to especially welcome my better half, my co-host here, Mr. Zed. Mr. Zed,
Thank you.
how are you doing today?
Not too bad. It's an interesting day.
Yeah, I've been researching this for a month and a half now. And today he pops in my office while I'm, doing the last minute notes and all of that. And he starts rattling off all this very interesting information. And I'm like, you need to be on the show with me to this afternoon. Are you busy this afternoon? You don't have to go to work, do you? So he's here, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
I appreciate it.
I'd like to welcome everybody who's here. Mike Bureau, good to see you. If you're not subscribed to Mike Bureau's channel, he deserves your subscription. He puts up some very funny stuff at Might Be Trolling is the name of his channel. Erica, it's always a pleasure to have you here, as well as Christo, Ray. I happen to know Mandy is watching. Mandy Thomas, not Miss Mandy. I mean, Miss Mandy might be watching too. You're welcome. Everybody's welcome. Because she sent me a picture of her dog watching the screen because her dog likes to see Xena and Ava, they're here. But I only have 2 cameras, so they're here. So just so you guys know, if you do donate during the stream, they will get the milk bones. You will get entered into the drawing. And I think this is the last day that I'm going to be live before the end of the month. So if you do want to be entered into the drawing, which will happen on the 3rd of March, get in there today for sure. So today we're going to be talking about the DC sniper case. Do you remember when that happened?
Turn of the century.
I may already know the answers to some of these questions. Where were you in 2002?
Training recruits how to shoot.
In California, right?
Yeah, Southern California.
Yeah. So you were at
Camp Pendleton.
I was going to say Lejeune, and I'm like, that's not right.
No, that's the wrong side. Yeah.
You were at Pendleton.
Camp Pendleton. Yeah.
And you were the one training people how to shoot guns.
Correct. All the new recruits that came in. That's part of my job at that point.
Gig back then.
Back then, during that time frame.
That sounds fun. He's a very good teacher, by the way. Erica's upset there's no Xena cam.
No, we have a Xena cam. It's just on me at the moment.
There's Ava right
Ava.
there. And Xena tail. That's all you get today.
Just and a foot.
And a stretch. So we are starting out. The Beltway sniper attacks is what they called them at the time, but they since kind of turned into, people are calling the DC sniper attacks. There's a road that kind of runs around DC, kind of like 285 here.
Right. And
it's called the Beltway. So that's why they were called that. And it happened in the DC metropolitan area in October of 2002. What we found out afterwards, and we'll go over this at the end, but it actually started way before October in different states, but it was more spread out and they didn't tie them all together till after they were caught. So it involved a guy named John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo over a period of 3 weeks where they would randomly target individuals just doing their daily stuff, filling their gas tanks, vacuuming out their cars, just normal, everyday. One of the ladies was just sitting on a bench reading a book, and there was no rhyme or reason to it. There was not a specific gender. It wasn't a specific race of people. It was just, if a person was out in public, you were a target. So the first one that they connected to this was in October 2nd, 2002. And it kept going. They didn't catch him for 23 days. And it was very panicked at that time in the DC area. I talked to somebody who lived there at the time, and they were telling me that they were afraid to pump gas because a few of them happened at gas stations. So they would either sit in their car and kind of
duck down.
Yeah. Like they'd set the gas pump and then get in their car and sit behind the engine block, which, by the way, if you're in a gunfight, you want to get behind the engine block, I've been told.
Yep. Oh, they were also telling their kids to lay down in the back seats and keep real low.
And zigzag, walk in zigzag patterns.
Yep.
They're telling people. Exactly. 10 people were killed. 3 others were critically injured, and the victims were shot from a distance with a high-powered rifle. And the shooters often left cryptic messages or notes at the crime scenes.
Yeah, law enforcement, different agencies. You got the DC police. You got the, I guess it'd be similar to what the county,
Yeah.
you know, and
The sheriff's office.
Sheriff's office. They also had ATF, FBI. They were all involved because it was so close to the DC area.
The feds got involved right away.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then of course you always had the media that was involved in it. And back then, unfortunately, the media thought that they knew better.
Back then, you mean for all of time?
Yeah, I'm just saying. But yeah, the media got overly involved in it and actually probably stepped their bounds a little bit.
Definitely definitely looked at the line and pole vaulted right over that line.
That line was blown away.
Yeah, exactly. I muted both mics.
Oh, that's nice.
I know usually I forget when you're here and I only mute one and then people can still hear me cough.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to go over the timeline of these different shootings. So we're starting off on October 2nd, 2002. So, you know what? Tell me in the chat, do you remember when this was going on? Because it was because it was DC and it was right after 9/11 and it was a terrorist sort of thing. It was like national.
Oh,
headlines.
Immediate.
Like
national.
you heard about it in California. You lived in California at the time and you heard about it.
It was same day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember hearing about it here. I lived in the Atlanta area at the time. I had only been here about a year at that time. I was a new Georgia person. I was still struggling to understand the Southern accent when I would run across random people and speak to them in like a grocery store.
Trying to figure out how to get your waffle over at a Waffle House.
Yeah, what did they say? Funny story. I worked at a Walmart. You guys know I worked at Walmart. But when I first moved to Atlanta, I worked in the pharmacy department of Walmart, and somebody asked me for ARN. I had to have this woman spell what she wanted because she kept saying, "No, where's the ARN?" And I'm like, "What the heck is an ARN? Like, what is she looking for?" And I really wanted to help her find it. She was looking for iron tablets. But there was a breakdown in communication when I first arrived in the Atlanta area.
Hooked on phonics did not work out this way.
Now I'm really good at the accents. Like a lot of times you'll see like the TikToks or whatever where it's people speaking with a very heavy Southern accent and they'll put subtitles and I understand them the first time. I've been here long enough where I get it. Plus we have very good friends who have very thick accents
that true.
We drink with and they get worse when they drink. So anyway, sorry for that tangent. Back to October 2nd, 2002. So 5:20 p.m., a shot was fired through the window of a Michael's craft store in Aspen Hill, Maryland. And the bullet almost hit a cashier named Ann Chapman, but it didn't hit her. No one was seriously injured. It just broke out the window. No serious alarms were raised. Let me put this map up. So the Michaels is up here on the top. And then 6:30, so that was at 5:20. And then at 6:30, so a little over an hour later, James Martin was shot and killed while he was in the parking lot of a Shoppers Food Warehouse in Wheaton, Maryland. And that was at 2201 Randolph Road. So you can see it's just an 8-minute drive from there. So I wonder what they were doing in that hour, because it was an hour in between the two shots and it's only an 8-minute drive. I assume they were just driving around and ended up.
Well, I've actually got a couple of theories on what they were doing on those days where they had multiple shootings.
Really?
Yeah. Um,
Let's hear it.
all right. You have people that take arsonists, for example.
Mhm.
Okay. They want to go watch it burn down.
Oh, yeah.
They were looking at what the response time was. They were looking at who all was going to be there.
Mhm.
They were looking at, various, stuff like that. So probably if there was an hour difference between, I would say the first 20 minutes of that hour, they were probably watching everything. They went and sat down somewhere, and you got to remember their vehicle was not known for a really long time.
Like till the very end.
So they were able to sit there and just watch and observe everything. And then the next, 30, 40 minutes, they would go figure out what they wanted to do, where they wanted to do it, and then they were able to pick their next target, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's my theory.
And I think you're right, because on some of these other ones, there's like a bunch of them we're about to go over, but on these other ones, they did hang out at the crime scenes, because 2 or 3 times they were interviewed, like they were stopped by the cops, like trying to drive away, but they weren't looking for a blue Caprice, which they were in. They were looking for a white van. So they stopped them and said, "Oh, 2 black guys in a Caprice. Move it along, sir." So they were hanging out and watching the police response.
Correct. And that's what I think they were doing on most of their cases.
Yeah. So James Martin was killed in that Shoppers Food warehouse in Wheaton. He was a 55-year-old man, and he worked as a program analyst for NOAA, which I have no idea what that was. That's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And I learned today that they control the weather.
Yes.
Is that right?
Them and DARPA, they control the weather.
They control the weather. Before we move on to October 3rd, I'm going to thank Quest Fanning for the donation. And we're going to get some dog treats up here.
Oh, well, let's see.
We've got so many dogs here today. We have 2 extra dogs. You're really getting your bang for the buck today. Let's see, I need 4. Here's 2 for yours.
Touch.
Teddy Royal, come here. This is Teddy and Royal, by the way. They're just visiting.
Shake.
They're good boys.
You want to shake? Shake.
Okay.
This is for you, Benny. Benny's a good boy. Thanks, Quest.
Thank you so much, Quest Fanning. I appreciate you. You're a good friend. All right, so back to the NOAA, who control the weather. So this was the first day of the attack.
And in the same general area, Montgomery County Police have set up a command center at the scene of the 3rd murder in Aspen Hill. Our team coverage continues from there with Fox 5's Bob Barnard. Bob.
Well, Tracy, Montgomery County Police Chief Charles Moose says the killer is a very skilled shooter who started his rampage around 5:20 last night, shooting out the store window of a business just about a half mile from here. It's the only one of the 6 shootings that didn't end in bloodshed and death. The unprecedented murder spree began last night in Wheaton. The victim, a 55-year-old man shot dead walking into the Shoppers Food warehouse on Randolph Road. The murder captured on a surveillance camera. 13 hours later at Rockville Pike and Nicholson Lane, a landscaper is shot and killed. It's 7:41 a.m. Half an hour later, a cabbie is shot dead at this mobile gas station on Connecticut Avenue at Aspen Hill Road.
Just a loud noise, and he's laying in the parking lot bleeding to death.
A nurse fueling her minivan next to the taxi cab rushes to the victim's side. He will not survive.
It started over there. I went over there, and the guy's laying on the ground, blood all over the side of the van. He's laying on the ground, gasping for air, and the lady, she's standing there shaking. She was trying to help him.
25 minutes later, a little more than a mile away at Leisure World, a woman is murdered while sitting on a park bench in front of a post office. A witness to this shooting tells police he saw two men flee in a white delivery truck. Unbelievably, while the Montgomery County Police Chief and Deputy State's Attorney arrive at the gas station in Aspen Hill, the killer targets another woman at a Shell gas station on Connecticut Avenue in Kensington. Paramedics rush to the scene but cannot save the woman's life.
It's always shocking when you get a call like that at any point in time. It's certainly not good when it's right here in your own backyard.
Investigators say they're all but certain the same gunmen are responsible for all 5 murders.
We strongly feel that all of these are connected. Certainly, the weaponry seems to be very similar. Not a lot of evidence. There's no indication at this point that these individuals know each other. There's no indication that any of these individuals had any kind of conflict with anyone.
The search for the killers, an all-out effort all across the region.
We have called in other resources. We have members of the Secret Service, FBI, Maryland State Police, Georges County. They're actually up with their helicopter. Members of Maryland Metropolitan Police Department, and the state's attorney's office is actually here with us as well.
So that's actually what I made my little clip. You know, I try to always do a little like advertisement or whatever. I just make a short from a news clip. So to go over those that we just heard about, the first one was Sonny Buchanan, and he was killed while he was mowing the lawn. He's a landscaper. He's 39 years old, and he was mowing the lawn near an auto mall in Aspen Hill, Maryland. And so it's a push mower, and like one of those self-propelled push mowers.
Those things are really nice.
I bet you're happy you don't have one anymore.
I'm absolutely glad I don't have one of those.
When we first bought this house, we had bought one of those self-propelled push mowers. You had it for like a month?
Yes. Yeah, and I quickly went and got me one of them riding.
Yeah, he didn't realize when you have land, you need a riding. You need definitely, if you have over an acre, you need a riding mower.
Oh, yeah.
It was taking him literally 8 hours to just mow the yard with a push mower. So
to mow, to weed eat, to trim everything. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So he's mowing with one of those little push mowers and gets shot. And he was able to crawl his way into the auto mall because he's like outside the fence or whatever, mowing like next to the street. And there's 2 employees standing there, and one of them called 911, and they rushed him to the hospital. The ambulance or whatever got there right away, and they rushed him to the hospital. But he died later that day. And then Prem Kumar Welliker was shot at that gas station, and also in Aspen Hill. He was a 54-year-old taxi driver, and he was pumping gas, and he had to stand instead of next to his car. He had one of those cars. Remember those cars where the license plate would flip down?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how his cab was. So he was standing behind his car, and they actually shot from across the street. There was like a mall or something, and there was a break in the bushes. There was like box bushes, and there was a break in the 2 bushes, and they backed up their car right to that spot where that break was and shot.
You just had a perfect line of sight.
Perfect line of sight. Hit him in the chest. It damaged his heart and his lung. And I know in that news coverage, they said that there was a nurse on scene. The woman that was on scene that was trying to give him aid was actually an ER doctor. So she was pumping gas right next to him. And when she was interviewed subsequently, and Ava's trying to
she's letting everyone know that there was a gifted membership.
I saw it. Give me a second. I'm in the middle of something.
She's desperately trying to
what was I saying? Oh, so she had said hello to him. They like exchanged pleasantries. Like when they both got out of their car, they exchanged pleasantries. So they said hello to each other, and then he got shot, and then he died in front of her basically, but she tried to keep him alive till the paramedics came. But he was pronounced dead at the scene.
That's one of those things where best case scenario.
Yeah. If you're going to get shot by a sniper, you want to have an ER doctor standing next to you, right?
Yeah. unfortunately didn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah Ramos was a housekeeper, and she was waiting for her boss to come pick her up. She just finished a job, and her boss was going to come pick her up, take her to the next place. And she was sitting on a bench reading a book, minding her own business. And when the 911 call came in, what's wrong with your dog? When the 911 call came in, was first reported as a suicide. They thought that she had sat on that bench and just shot herself. But obviously when the police got there, they realized that that wasn't the case at all. She didn't have a gun, and the bullet had gone through her, through the glass that was behind her, because there was storefront back here. And they were able to recover the bullet and match it.
And this is where they actually started collecting more information on the actual weapon and being able to figure out what the caliber was and possibly what types of rifles would actually shoot that caliber.
Yes. And then Lori Ann Lewis Riviera was shot while she's vacuuming out her minivan in Kensington, Maryland. She was a mom, and she was 25 years old and a new mother. She was a civil engineer by occupation, or her people carrier, her what did they got? A child carer and people carrier.
Yeah,
we were watching a British documentary about this, and the way they described this one was she was vacuuming her people carrier, and her occupation was child carer,
child caregiver,
something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, so she was a mom vacuuming her minivan, is what he meant to say. And then the Pascal Charlotte was the older gentleman, 72. And this one, they went all the way back down to Washington, D.C., and he was just walking across the street. And this afternoon, when we were watching that documentary, it showed the area, and he was coming. There was a cleaners on one side of the street, and he was crossing the street. And on the other side was a KFC Taco Bell combo he was walking towards. So, poor guy. All right, let's give these dogs some treats so we don't. Thank you very much, Ray Ray. I appreciate it. You're allowed to give them treats now. Excuse me, Teddy. Would you like to have that? Royal, do you want one?
High five.
Okay.
High five. High five.
I appreciate it.
All right, now lay down. Plats. Plats.
Is this the same one we just watched? No. Oh, good. My internet's going out.
That's not happy.
Announcing that there is, in fact, a link between the Frederick.
What is happening?
Breaking news right now. There has been a major development. We are listening now to Chief Charles Moose announcing that there is, in fact, a link between the Fredericksburg case and the cases, the D.C. case, that is, and the cases in Montgomery County. Let's listen.
Certainly, again, that is very disturbing. Gives us a wider window to work with, a higher degree of recklessness by these suspects. But again, we will work closely with MPD. We will maintain the lead on these situations. But again, very blessed to have the expertise that MPD brings to this situation, and are very comfortable with that relationship. We had an earlier request with regards to numbers on the hotline. We're now up to over 500 leads that have come in through that hotline, 240-777-2600. Again, I want to say thank you to all of the people that have participated in that. It's proven to be very helpful. We encourage people to continue to process this information, continue to help us. Obviously now,
In fact, it was not very helpful because they were, as Deb says, looking for a white van that didn't exist.
we've expand it into the district. There may be other people. Certainly you're comfortable calling people in the district from MPD that you normally work with, but also want to encourage people in the district that were in the area of this tragedy to also call the hotline number in Montgomery County. We will be working this jointly, and we will be reaching out to all of those people. Again, briefings tomorrow at 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 5 p.m., and 9 p.m. At this point, we'll take questions.
Okay, we're not going to listen to the questions because the press asks a lot of stupid questions right there. Like, are you going to try to match the bullets? Like, what? Yeah, we're going to do that.
But, oh, we
Like,
didn't
that's
think
one of the
that.
questions that's asked during this particular news conference. Like, a lot of dumb questions come from the press at that one. So moving along to during one of these press conferences, I think it might have been that one. Maybe we should have watched it, but I'll just tell you what happened. One of the questions I think that was asked there was that, should the children stay home from school? And the chief says, no, they're not targeting children. Your children are fine. Don't worry about it. Everybody stay calm, relax. The kids are fine. And what happens the very next day, October 7th, 8:09 a.m., Iron Brown is shot and critically injured while being dropped off at Benjamin Tasker Middle School in Bowie, Maryland. So you can see we were up here before. Now we're over on this side of town. Luckily, Iron, who was 13 years old, he was a student. He's rushed to the hospital. He underwent emergency surgery to treat his wounds, and he did survive. Miraculously survived. He wasn't expected to make it for a very long time, but he did survive and made a full recovery. And he actually became a symbol of resilience and survival for in the face of tragedy for the DC area after that. So he really strong kid. You know what I mean? I can't imagine the chief of police telling you one day, kids are fine, and then the very next day you're shot. Like,
well, on one of those news articles, or not news articles, one of the press releases he did, immediately following this, having to talk about this situation, you can see on his face that the regret he had from even mentioning.
Well, he was asked by these stupid press people,
and also his response, oh yeah, don't worry about it, and then it just the gravity of the entire situation hit him. And you can see that how heartfelt he was about that mistake that he had made by actually entertaining that.
Well, and I wonder what the correct answer would have been. Like, are your kids safe? Well, no kids have been shot, right?
We have no indication.
Yeah,
I would still take precaution. I think that's what
I would say, like, proceed with whatever caution you feel necessary would be the right answer. I mean, I don't know. Keep your kids home if you want. We're not closing schools, though.
Right. I think that would be closer to the right answer at that point.
Yeah.
Again, we're looking at it 2020.
True. And in 2024.
No, I meant 2020 hindsight, but yes.
But what I'm saying is in 2024, they can shut down schools like that. And everybody since the COVID pandemic has the capability of getting on a computer and not missing a day of school.
Very true.
So if it was that easy to close schools back then, it may have been a different story. Just out of caution, they may have just closed the schools if it was that easy to do it,
And Dub makes a point here. I bet they shot a kid because they didn't close the school.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think that they may have used that press conference to go, oh, we want to instill more fear. We're going to do the one thing that we haven't thought of as of yet, and we're really going to hit them, because it was the very next shooting, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. It was that press conference was that evening, and the very next morning was when the kid
I bet they made that decision on the fly and went, we're going to do this now.
Yeah, and the other, like I said, the other shootings were up here And this one is all the way down. Well, one of them was over here. The old man, the grandfather crossing the street was actually in Washington, D.C., but most of them were up here. And then now this one over here, which actually I can pull up. I have this prepared. So you can see they're all around Washington, D.C. All right. Moving along. Maybe moving along. Let's shuffle that. That was weird. That was a weird music. So now on October 9th, hold on, I'm telling myself in my notes to put up the slideshow. There it is. If I don't put stuff in the notes, none of these tabs would ever happen, just so you know. Also, my notes are an 18-point font because I'm very old and blind.
I can read them from here.
Just a little inside baseball for you. Around 8:18 p.m. So this is October 9th. The most recent one previous to this was 2 days earlier on the 7th. So in the evening, 8:18 p.m., Dean Harold Myers is shot and killed while pumping gas at the Sunoco. I always in my head call it Sunoco, and I know that's wrong. It's pronounced Sunoco, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sunoco. The Sunoco station in Manassas, Virginia. He was 53 years old. He was a civil engineer. Now we're moving on to the 11th, and here's a little bit of the investigation at the Sunoco.
Now, I did tell you earlier about my theory about why they did most of them during the day.
You did.
And
do you want to tell them? Or
yeah.
we keep that between us?
I mean, some things we want to keep between us. This one here is, I think they did most of their shootings during daylight hours because of muzzle flash. And if you notice that where they did it at night, there was very little traffic. There was very little pedestrians or whatnot. So they would less likely be caught, but they didn't want to risk it as much. Now, the other thing is after the first couple of incidents, and they got on the news where it said looking for a couple of white guys.
It's coming up here, the next one.
Oh, well, shh. I'll let you fill that in.
So what caught me, the reason why I picked this picture to put up is because there's one, maybe two, cops here doing their job, FBI agents. Look at all of this press. This is not people taking crime scene photos. This is like just press. This is how all up in their business the press was during this. And I think they really, they got in the way of this one.
A lot. Yeah.
So they're just looking for everything. And obviously we know hindsight that these bushes were these officers in the grass that we just saw. They're looking for bullet casings, or they're looking for any kind of evidence. The people who did this never even got out of their car. They were well, how many feet did they say they were away on average? 140 meters or something?
150 yards
150
average.
Yards.
That was the average, give or take a couple.
Yeah. And I have no concept of time or space. So I actually had to ask you, like, I've shot that far before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 150 yards is a football field and a half.
Yeah.
It's really not that. It's really not that far.
What was that range you went to in Florida? 200?
Yeah, we had set out targets for you at 200.
Did I hit them? I don't remember. I think I did hit them.
You did. Once you figured out how you needed to aim and adjust the sights,
So
it's not difficult.
It's not. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is they're not difficult shots. And at the trial, also what we find out is the kid was the one doing most of them. This was a older man and a 17-year-old boy. And for most of them, not all of them, but most of them, the person actually pulling the trigger was a 17-year-old kid.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. All right, moving along. October 11th, 2002. So a few days later, from the 9th to the 11th. So this is every few days at this point. Around 9:30 a.m., Kenneth Bridges is shot and killed while pumping gas at an Exxon station. How do you pronounce that? Massaponax, Virginia? We'll go with that. He was 53 years old. He was also a civil engineer. And at this time, police began stopping traffic because the reports that they were getting from witnesses for the previous ones were that there was always a white van. All of the witnesses for all of these kept saying there's a white van. We saw a white van leaving the scene. So they put it out. They're looking for a white van, and they're also, the FBI did a what's it called? Like where they do a study of who they're looking for,
Right.
Like, and they thought they were looking for 1 or 2 white males in a white van.
They did a profile.
Criminal profile. I do crime stuff. I know these things. They were looking for, like, the profile was a middle age, or between 25 and 35.
Correct.
White male, possibly 2 people doing it together.
More than likely military.
Yeah, ex-military, because that's when your antennae went up.
Correct.
Being that you're training people how to shoot in California at this time. In a white panel van or a box truck. Yep. Something like that. So, and there was, after that report came out, these guys always made sure there was a white van in the area before they took a shot, which is, like, kind of smart.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you don't have to wait long.
No.
Like Erica said, or no, Cristo said, white vans are just too common.
They are.
Hold your breath and you'll see a white van before you have to breathe again. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So these are, cops stopping traffic. And 2 to 3 times they actually stopped and talked to Mohammed and Malvo.
1, 2.
Yeah, just
3,
in this picture.
4 white
There's
vans.
one there. Well, that's a truck. But
Right,
look, there's a van right there.
That's yellow.
Well, that might be a van. There's something right there.
That's a van.
And this is just a snapshot of traffic. This right here might be a van. But right here, there's 1, 2, 3 in a row. And a box truck. Wait, is this 2 different? It doesn't matter.
It's 2 different vans, but the other one's a Durango.
Ay.
How you doing, life?
Life to the max. Yo to you two. Yo to you. Thanks for coming. We're going to take a milk bone break after we get through a few more of these, because otherwise this episode will be 8 hours long. And I saw Quest and K-Bot. Almost just doxed you. This close. He saved your ass. Okay. Now we're moving to October 14th. So we go from the 11th to the 14th. So every few days, random people are just getting shot and killed, doing everyday tasks like filling their gas tank. Like I said at the beginning, people were like ducking down behind their cars to put gas in their car. So Linda Franklin is shot and killed in the parking lot of the Home Depot at Falls Church, Virginia. She was 47 years old, and she was an FBI intelligence analyst. And that made the FBI a little upset.
Yeah.
I would think. Killing one of their own.
Where she was walking with her husband?
Yes. Yeah, she was in the Home Depot parking lot. They had just gone to Home Depot, got some stuff for a home repair, and they were in the parking lot putting stuff into the back of their car.
Yeah. And
he was standing right next to her. They were both loading the stuff in the car, and she just dropped. And of course, because of like timing and stuff, she drops before you even hear the sound of it. Like, it's like instantaneous.
Yeah. At 150 yards ish, she would have been on her way to the ground.
Yeah.
As he's hearing it. So. All right. See, later in October 14th, this is when they get a major break in the case. Muhammad's friend, Robert Holmes, who still lived out in Washington, he actually called the police and suggested that Muhammad and his friend Malvo were likely the snipers. Now, in the process of telling them this, and saying, hey, look, I think this might be this, that, or the other, he also gave them some pertinent information, like what type of vehicle it was. He also told them kind of a motive, so to speak, that possibly would be behind why he's doing this. They didn't take it completely serious at that point.
It was logged in the
Yeah.
They were getting hundreds of thousands of tips by this point.
Oh yeah, they're getting a ton of them, but
they were logging everything,
yep,
so they could go back and search it.
Absolutely. And this one right here, for some reason, stuck in someone's head,
Mm-hmm.
and they were able to quickly go back to it.
Yeah, once they got a little more information a couple of days from now.
Yep,
we're almost there.
And then on the 17th, there was a caller that claimed to be the sniper. They phoned in. They gave a bit of a tease, I guess you could say, of, hey, look, this is, I'm the sniper. We're the sniper. We did.
Yeah, they kept using a plural. We.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that they said was about 2 women in Alabama, okay, that were killed.
Yeah.
And actuality, only one of the 2 actually died, but it was at a robbery of a liquor store in Montgomery. And also, at that point, another piece of evidence which helped later on,
Mm-hmm.
Which they didn't even know at that point, was actually dropped at that liquor store.
Yep. Yeah. So of course the FBI calls Montgomery PD immediately. They're like, "Do you have any evidence?" And they're like, "Yes, as a matter of fact, we do have some evidence.
Yep.
We have a magazine, and it's got a fingerprint." And the FBI is like, "We're going to need that. We'll be right there." So they sent I guess there's FBI offices everywhere, and there was
Correct.
one in Birmingham. So they sent them to Montgomery, the Birmingham FBI.
And it was a shooting magazine. And where they found that fingerprint was on the page where they were looking at scopes.
Oh, what? Was it? No.
Yeah, that was the page that was folded over, and it was scopes on it. And that's the page that they got
I've been researching this for a month and a half, and the entire time I thought they were talking about a magazine, like a gun, like a clip.
No, it was a magazine. It was a
I thought they
shooting
had
magazine.
dropped
Shooting magazine.
I'm learning things today. I thought, because they just say magazine in all of the reports that I read. It says it's on a magazine. Like,
No,
they
it's
got the
actually a
fingerprint
shooting
from a magazine. I thought it was like a mag.
Nope.
It was on an actual
paper magazine.
Interesting.
And the page was folded over, and that's what the page had, the scopes on it that they were looking at.
I'm so glad I
different
brought
optics, and then they were able to get I think it was a thumbprint, and it was the kid's thumbprint.
Yep. So now we're on to October 19th, still in 2002. Around 8 p.m., Jeffrey Hopper is shot and critically injured while mowing the grass at a Ponderosa Steakhouse in Ashland, Virginia. He survives the attack. He was 37. He was a landscaper. The police found a shell casing and a message tacked to a tree in the nearby woods. The multi-page letter demanded $10 million and threatened more killings. An agent from the FBI. This is the Alabama thing. I put that in the wrong spot. So the next day after they found out about the Alabama thing, an FBI agent from Mobile, Alabama, I think I said Birmingham before it was Mobile, flew the evidence to Washington, D.C. So he arrived in Washington, D.C. with that fingerprint on the magazine.
I think that on the 17th is when they made the initial call.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 19th, I think you have the notes in the right order, is when he actually flew out to D.C. with the evidence.
Yeah.
So it took him a day to get everything together.
So on this tree, you can see here, it says, "For you, Mr. Police, call me God. Do not release to the press. P.S. Your children are not safe. Can you hear us now? Do not play these childish games with us. You know our demands." And they have little stickers, like gold star stickers all over them. And then here's, this is from the trial. This is somebody took a picture in the trial. I can't really make that out, but this is the rest of the letter.
Developments in the sniper investigation itself. Fox 5's Bob Barnard begins our team coverage live from police headquarters in Rockville. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Tracy. Ballistics tests performed here in Rockville confirm yesterday's murder was yet another sniper shooting. The elusive gunman has now killed 10 people and wounded 3 others. And as far as we know, police this afternoon are no closer to catching the killer. A small memorial of flowers and burning candles marks the spot along Grand Prix Road in Aspen Hill where Conrad Johnson, a Montgomery County ride-on bus driver and father of 2, was shot and killed by the serial sniper Tuesday morning.
I just get very discouraged. It doesn't sound like they're very close to catching him.
Police believe the sniper was perched in these woods. Branches of bushes cut by investigators still litter the ground where another note from the killer was found. Police also say they want to hear from witnesses who may have information about Tuesday morning's shooting, but are afraid to come forward because they may be in the country illegally.
Montgomery County police officers do not have any authority or authorization to enforce immigration laws, and we want to talk to them about this crime.
Prince William County police say they are also looking for additional witnesses to the shooting at this Manassas gas station 2 weeks ago.
We also are looking for anyone who might have been driving a white van in the area at that time. We've gotten several reports of a white van being seen in the area. We've checked out a lot of them, but there are still a few that we have not been able to track down.
All around the region, schoolyards remain empty, police working overtime to protect children kept inside classrooms, a palpable fear gripping the community.
It's not that I'm afraid to go out, but if you don't know where it's coming from, it's a weird feeling.
Federal and local police are trying to offer words of encouragement about their search for the sniper.
All the leads that come in, we follow those up every day and we eliminate potential suspects. So progress is made every day, and it just puts us one step closer. Thank you.
And Chief Moose promises he will not bargain away one life in any attempt to communicate secretly with the killer.
This investigation, as all criminal investigations, are very important to us and all people in our profession. But let me just be real clear that public safety comes before any investigation.
Now, we're learning more this afternoon about what the killer has apparently requested of police in the letter that was found at one of the murder scenes. Fox News is reporting that the killer asked the police, in fact, demanded the police electronically transfer $10 million to a credit card account, that the killer provided police with a credit card number and a PIN number, but the credit card came back stolen, and so police either will not or cannot do what the killer has asked them to do. And Tracy, Fox News is also reporting that the killer says if his demands are not met, police will need body bags. And that's a quote. Back to you.
That is chilling, isn't it, Bob? We appreciate that report. I can tell you the calls keep coming in to the sniper tip line. At last count, 67,000 calls had been recorded.
Crazy. That's
That's
so
about
many tips.
400 calls an hour. Investigators still want to hear from you, though. If you were anywhere near the scene of one of the shootings, if you have any information at all, call that nationwide tip line, 888-324-9800.
And I have to say, I watched all of these Fox 5 has this whole thing archived from when this was happening. And there was 3 reports a day, morning, like the news at noon or whatever. And then probably 4, because they had the 5 or 6 o'clock news and then the nightly news. But this Tracy woman did such a good job reporting on this as it was happening. And she was just passing along information that she got from the police to pass on, not like some of these other journalists at the time. So I'm
just
kind
making
of,
stuff up.
Yeah, I'm just kind of featuring her in the videos that I picked out to play. So they talked about a bus driver that was killed, but first, do you want to go over some of the evidence that they were finding along the way?
Oh yeah. Well, also real quick, they said 67,000 phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was just from the second when the first shooting was until like the 20th or something like that.
right. And the other thing is people were trying to call in 911 and they
Getting
couldn't get in because so
busy
many people
signal.
were calling in.
Mhm.
So 67,000 phone calls, and that's a grip of phone calls there.
Yeah.
On the 21st of October, while the ATF is handling all the ballistical evidence, all the different bullets that they were able to collect and a couple of the actual casings, the FBI took that fingerprint evidence to the FBI laboratory, and they were able to, at that point, using the FBI database, they were able to produce a match, and that match actually belonged to Lee Boyd Malvo, the 17-year-old kid, from a previous arrest, and they were actually able to get it off of his immigration, confirm it off of his immigration stuff, because he was originally from, where did they say?
Jamaica.
Jamaica. And he kind of immigrated in, and he had to have a sponsor and
I think
everything.
he immigrated from Antigua, but he was originally from Jamaica.
Yeah.
The Caribbean.
Yep. So they were able to verify all of that. And also, another important lead was whenever the arrest came in, whenever they were looking for the sponsors on his original immigration type stuff, John Allen Muhammad was actually mentioned on those documents. And that also ties into the guy in Washington who said it could be my friend.
Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State, who said this could be my friend. You might want to look into it. And all these puzzle pieces started actually falling into place.
Yeah, it's all falling apart now for the bad guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, the immigration forms have John Muhammad on there, and then so they search John Muhammad, and it comes up on a tip where one of his army buddies
Yep.
called the FBI in Tacoma, Washington, and said, "Hey, I don't know, but my friend's going a little crazy, and he was going on a road trip to Washington, D.C. So
and he has this kid with him.
Yeah, might want to look into him."
Yep. And then let's see here. The FBI. Let's see.
Do you need to do the scrolling?
Yeah.
I thought you had it on your screen.
Yeah, it went blank because I don't unplugged it in. Let's see here. John Muhammad, and then because of that case with the FBI up in Washington State, they started looking into that and found out that he had a Bushmaster AR style rifle, which shot a .223, very similar to military M16, especially back then. So,
And it matched the size of the
absolutely,
ammunition that they were recovering from people's bodies.
They were also able to pull a couple of rounds out of a tree in the backyard, ballistically test those, and say, hey, this looks to be a close match. We think we might have the guy.
Yeah.
And so now the FBI have, at this point, they have a good idea of who they're looking for and who might be with them, especially since these notes keep saying we, and not the French we. But also they know, okay, well, we've got a grown man that's got military experience, and we've got a young man that is 17 years old that we've got the fingerprint on, and everything's coming back and pointing to them. And at that point, that's also when they figured out for sure we need to be looking for this car and not a van.
Yeah. We want $10 million. Don't play childish games with us. So Conrad Johnson was that bus driver that was featured in that story. He was a Montgomery County ride-on bus driver. He was shot and killed while standing steps away from his bus in Aspen Hills, Maryland. And he was just starting his route, and he was pulled over to the side waiting to start his route, waiting at the first stop of his route and cleaning out his bus and getting ready to do he did an evening shift. And I saw an interview with his mom is one of the things I looked, I watched while researching this, and she was saying that he was the type of bus driver where he knew there was several people who got on his same bus every day, and a few of them were elderly people, and he would actually get off of the bus and escort them on. And especially during, while all of this was going on, he would try to protect his,
his fares.
Exactly. His people that would take his bus all the time. There's also in existence that I'm not going to play because it's very heartbreaking, but in existence out there, he got shot and he walked back into his bus and down the aisle and called 911 from a cell phone. And the recording of that 911 call is out there. It's heartbreaking. Do not recommend. But he seemed like a really good guy. He was a dad. The police found another threatening letter at this scene as well. And I keep playing the wrong. So I'm just going to do this to make sure I'm playing the right thing.
Moving on to developments in the sniper investigation itself. Fox 5's Bob Barnard begins our team coverage live from police headquarters in Rockville. Hi, Bob.
Yep.
It is the same one. Okay.
Ballistics test
So I played that one too early is what had happened.
That happens.
Yeah.
So about the 24th of October, FBI searched the criminal records database and found that Mohammed had registered a blue Chevy Caprice with a license plate of NDA 21Z in New Jersey. So now they have an updated license plate on this Chevy Caprice.
Don't you mean November Delta Alpha 21 Zulu? Sorry,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. Anyway, so now they have this updated information with the license plate. All of it ties back to this guy, and they know that they have actually probably talked to this individual during some of these stops while they're looking for these vans. And now the description was given to the news and shared far and wide.
Oh,
but
I'm
it was
sorry.
also by accident that it was initially put out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. And they start messing stuff up, information out. Number one, they shouldn't have, but they start putting it out there far and wide very, very quickly before the FBI, before law enforcement, before the ATF is ready for it to go out, because they're still trying to piece everything together. And they wanted to have that type of surprise element to catch these guys. And they just realized at this point that their timeline has been cut extremely short.
Yeah.
On apprehending these individuals quickly.
So all of this information gets released to the press, which is great. We know who we're looking for. Here's the license plate. And I didn't add this to the notes, but we just watched something about the guy who called it in. So like a few hours later, it's like midnight around there, something. It's in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's dark out
at this rest area. And this guy who happens to drive a white van, so he's paying very close attention to the news on this sniper thing, because he's a refrigerator repair guy, or
refrigerator repairman, something like that.
Yeah. So he drives a white van for work every day in this area.
And he's been stopped.
And he's been stopped a bunch. From what he says, he's been stopped a whole heck of a lot. Pulls into this rest area and parks, starts eating his sandwich.
Yeah.
Like he's chilling.
He's like, all right, well, I got a little break here. Yeah. I'm gonna eat. And he looks up, and lo and behold,
he sees pulled in to the in the rest area the car with the license plate. So he was paying such close attention to it that when they released the license plate, he wrote it down because he wanted to be sure.
Yep.
So basically, citizen self is.
The guy this guy in a white van who's been the target of this entire thing, who's just some random
for the
white
last
guy,
3 weeks.
Some random white guy in a white van is the one that catches the actual killers, in this blue Caprice.
It was poetic justice.
It was nice.
Yeah. So they call it in, and Alan Muhammad, and
real quick before that, this goes back to the 67,000 phone calls going in. He called 4, 5, 6, 7 times before he was able to reach an operator because it just kept being busy. Even at that time of night, it was busy. That's how much traffic was going into 911 at that time.
Yeah.
But he wasn't going to leave. He said, I'm not leaving.
He said he was going to follow it if it left.
Yep.
And keep trying to call. He kept trying to call 911 and he kept getting a busy signal, which is kind of a scary state of affairs. Because when you call 911, you want somebody on the other end of the line, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the police get there within minutes, all hands on deck, and they end up knocking on the...
They knock on the guy.
They're like all super stealthy in their super stealth mode.
While he was on the phone with 911, one of the SWAT guys knocks on his window and scares him half to death.
Well, he's probably used to it, though, because...
Well, not at that time of night.
I mean, he got stopped how many times during these 3 weeks? Like, he's probably used to people with large firearms making him get out of the truck, right? Anyway, so the police get there and they do... It reminded me of like, you ever see those covert like takedowns overseas? Well, have you ever been a part of one of those covert takedowns overseas where they extract people from vehicles?
I know what you're talking about.
You have a little idea about that?
I have a vague idea.
But it reminded me the way they described it of that. They said it was 30 seconds from the time they they were all in the shadows like they are. And by the time they went up to the car and had them on the ground in handcuffs, it was 30 seconds. They busted out the windows, opened the door, dragged it. They were both sleeping in there, by the way.
And they didn't know if they were in the woods behind the actual car, lying in wait, or anything like that. So when they came up, they actually sent people into the woods in order to verify nobody was there.
Like this area was probably crawling with agents before they made any contact with that vehicle.
Yep.
So they apprehend both of them at this rest stop in Meyerville, Maryland, off of the I-70. And the evidence experts from the FBI and other police forces found was both revealing and shocking. The car had a hole cut in it near the trunk, where like near the license plate, where shots could be fired out of it. And the back seat, I guess there's usually a firewall, like a metal firewall in between the back seat and the trunk. That was cut out. So like there was nothing like in the back seat. If you lean back on it, it would just pop back into the trunk. So they could go from the inside of the car into the trunk by just lifting up like the
very quickly,
the foam padding back there. They also spray painted the inside of the trunk because it was blue on the outside. It was dark blue on the outside, but the inside of the trunk was white for some reason.
It was a white gray color.
Yeah.
So they spray painted it dark for any type of glare that would come in. So as you're trying to look down the scope or anything, you wouldn't get any back glare.
I didn't understand why they did that, but then I called him in my office yesterday and said, why is it spray painted in there? And he explained whatever he just said. I don't listen to him half the time, so.
True story.
It was basically a rolling sniper's nest is what they had.
Yeah. Also found in the car were the Bushmaster 223 rifle that they had been used with the attack. The rifle scope for taking aim was still attached to the rifle.
I wrote tripod, but it was a bipod.
Correct. It was a bipod that they actually had set up there for stability. One thing I did learn was that they took the springs out of the trunk lid because if you just open the trunk, it would just open all the way. But they would actually open the trunk just a little bit so that they had the clearance for when they're looking through the scope and for the rifle barrel to protrude out. It was actually pretty good. Go ahead.
I just want to pull up a picture of the car.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
But you can keep reading while I do that. I didn't have it prepped.
No, you're good. The back seat, like they said, or like Katie said here, was the back seat typically has a metal plate that goes across the back of the vehicle. They actually removed that to make getting into the trunk area that much easier. The owner's manual is what they used whenever they're writing the demand letters. So they had the owner manual, and then they put the paper on, and they were writing it, and they could see on the owner's manual the impressions of the actual letters that they were writing and sending to the FBI or tagging up to trees or whatever, which is kind of interesting. You know, their demand notes that have $10 million on it, and they can look at the owner's manual, see the indentation of $10 million. So that was interesting there. There was a digital voice recorder used by both Malvo and Mohammed in order to make the extortion demands whenever they would call the police. At that point, there was a laptop that was stolen from one of the victims containing maps of the shooting sites and getaway routes for some of the crime scenes. Not all of them. Some of them were actually kind of impromptu, but they did take time. They had MapQuest. And
they downloaded the maps.
They downloaded the maps, and
like they downloaded it on the laptop, so they didn't have to carry around
the paper map,
paper atlas.
You see, a paper atlas is very useful.
Who some boomers order on Amazon for no apparent reason.
There is always a reason. Yes, I ordered me an atlas, but they also had maps and walkie-talkies and a lot of other items that they would be using, and then. Do you have the picture up?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you can see, right above the 21,
yeah,
on the actual above the license plate there, you got that little piece cut out right there, and what that is to give them space and room for the actual rifle to sit. The barrel can protrude out just a little bit. Does not have to protrude out very far.
And if you look here, this was taken off this
the rubber
seal. So they were just opening it so this little slit where this rubber is missing, they could look out.
Correct. And it gave them just enough clearance so that they could look actually through the optics. And yeah, it was an interesting, if you take a look at that, you can see where the gray or the white on the inside there's another picture of it where you can see where they actually spray painted the blue, which is right at the very edge of the trunk lid, right there, top center.
Well,
no, go back one. Top center. Yep, right
yeah,
there.
so you can see here where it was.
Where they spray painted it blue.
Here we go. There's what we need.
And what that did is it took all of the glare that might come in away from him looking through the optics.
Yeah.
So
yeah, these are some of this is the tarot. There was a tarot card left at one of the scenes. Bunch of pictures of the car. Do you see how this is not really?
It's not firm at all.
Yeah, it's not firm. It just, yeah. And then you can see here the little hole that was cut out. And when I first saw this, I thought they were doing it with it closed. And I'm like, how can they get the gun barrel and see through that? But turns out they were popping it up a little bit.
And one of the things, mind you, we were very invested in this back in the day. Being out on the West Coast, we knew we were far enough away where the likelihood of anything happening with us was very minimal. But at the same time, the group of knowledge, the amount of knowledge that we had in situations like this, having talked with, my gunny at the time was actually a sniper, and he would talk about how different things would be utilized for this. He goes, the second that I found out that it was a car, he goes, the first thing I thought of was right there by the license plate. They probably have one of them old school license plates where you could flip the license plate down type of deal. Wasn't the case, but very, very close to what he was talking in regards to. And we actually talked about this a little bit, and he's like, this is genius. He goes, this is something that we would use overseas if we needed to, and be able to get in and out and no one would even suspect
a lot has
Yep. Yeah, well, and the fact that that little rubber was cut out, I actually didn't notice that till we were live right now, but that makes sense because if they were popping it up just a little, it could keep dark the whole rest of it except for that like slot the size of their head, right?
And
Enough to where you could go
look left, look right, and at the same time, the scope would not have any interference from the rubber or whatnot. So yeah,
one of the things mentioned was walkie-talkies in there, and some of the shots were taken. The one at the Ponderosa and the one at the Home Depot were taken by Muhammad from the woods.
Correct.
So I assume they were using the walkie-talkies to stay in communication. One was doing lookout, and the other one, and I think the one with the kid as well.
Yes. Also, they were using the walkie-talkies even though they had someone in the front seat and someone in the back seat. One, it was more quiet. You could talk to each other and you didn't have to be very loud. Less suspicious that way. But also, the person that was in the front seat could look around, and if they saw anything, just like very quickly
call it off.
Freeze.
Abort.
Yeah.
abort.
Or, hey, you're clear. Go ahead. We got the white van. You're good to go.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing is they were waiting for a white. I forgot about that. They were probably giving the go ahead when they saw a white van.
Correct. And the person that's in the trunk's not going to see it.
Aimed on a target until there was a white van in the area.
Yep. Which wouldn't take very long.
Yeah. Yeah, as we saw.
Happened in just the past 24 hours as the sniper manhunt literally went nationwide. It began with a task force phone tip from someone claiming responsibility for the sniper killings and a September shooting in Alabama.
So investigators headed to Montgomery where they recovered a fingerprint from the shooting scene, a neighborhood liquor store. That fingerprint belonged to 17-year-old Lee Malveaux.
Now detectives quickly traced Malveaux to a home in Tacoma, Washington, where he had lived with 41-year-old John Allen Muhammad. Investigators carefully searched the home early last night to removing a tree stump with bullet fragments in it.
The result, a midnight news conference. Montgomery County Police releasing a picture of a wanted man, John Allen Muhammad, as well as a description of a car.
A citizen spotted that car at a rest stop in Myersville, Maryland, just 60 minutes later.
A hero with a sandwich in a white van spotted that car.
Inside, Muhammad and Malveaux. An emergency response team took him into custody without incident.
We have team coverage tonight from one coast to the other. We begin with Fox 5's Bob Barnard live at police headquarters in Rockville. What a day, Bob.
Incredible day, Tracy. We're still waiting to hear from Chief Moose. In fact, he hasn't said anything publicly about this morning's arrest. Police are obviously waiting for test results to come back on the rifle that was found in the car that the father and stepson were in to see whether if the test on that rifle matches with all the different sniper attacks. Under police escort and hidden inside this white trailer, the car from which a 3-week-long killing spree may have been plotted and carried out. Inside the blue 1990 Chevy Caprice, police and federal agents recovered a Bushmaster rifle that fires 223 rounds and also seized a scope and tripod. Todd Easterday witnessed the search.
They were taking each thing out of the car, and somebody was cataloging it. One of the boxes was...
That would totally be me if I happened to be at that rest stop. I'd be like, I'm just going to sit here and watch this happen.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
A real long box. Like, I'm not saying a gun came in it, but it looked like a box that you buy a gun in.
Arrested without incident around 3 o'clock this morning, 42-year-old John Allen Muhammad, also known as John Allen Williams, and his 17-year-old stepson, Lee Malveaux. The pair found sleeping inside their car by a motorist who stopped at this I-70 rest stop west of Frederick, just an hour after Muhammad, Malveaux, and their car were identified by police. What do you think of the fact that this may be over?
Oh, I hope it is. I really do. I really hope for people's peace of mind.
The rest stop just outside Myersville and the parking space where the suspect's car was parked, an immediate tourist attraction.
Just had to have a look, I guess.
That old lady would be me.
Drop by to see it.
Maryland State Police cadets on their hands and knees helped investigators look for other evidence at the rest stop. The car, with the world watching, taken to a secure location in Gaithersburg for further examination.
Gaithersburg.
And now 2 men, whose names and faces we'd never seen or heard before, may forever be known as 2 people who instilled fear in a community of more than 2 million. 14 shots, 13 hits, 10 killed. Their car was spotted around 1 in the morning, just about an hour after Chief Moose came before the cameras last night around midnight. But the men weren't taken into custody until a little after 3:30, and that is because after Maryland State Police came to confirm that it was their car, they put a perimeter around the rest stop. They called the task force. They mobilized SWAT teams. They got up there. They woke up Mohammed and Malvo and put them under arrest. Tracy, back to you.
All right, Bob, thanks so much. You know, we have watched
Thanks,
as police
Bob.
have pulled over dozens of white vans and trucks over the past 3 weeks. Well, today, ironically, it was the driver of a white truck who spotted Mohammed's car at that Maryland rest stop and called police, and then blocked the exit of the rest stop with his truck.
Like I said, hero with a sandwich.
I want people to think what I did was what I should have done. I'm no hero at this.
He
no
is.
hero whatsoever. I don't even want to even be thinking of a hero. I just want everybody to tell me thanks and walk away and forget about it.
The driver, by the way, had a prayer meeting with dozens of fellow truck drivers praying that the sniper would be caught.
That man is a hero. I didn't even realize that he had blocked the exit. That's amazing.
I didn't know that he did that either.
I think I forgot about Quest Fanning and Ray Ray earlier.
Well, real quick, fatal flaw on what these two did was they both went to sleep. You never go to sleep
when you're committing mass murder.
No, one of you always stays awake.
When
you have a fire watch.
Remember,
that's
guys,
what this is.
This is not a How to Get Away with Crime channel, but if you're going to commit a shooting spree,
if you are in a situation where you need to be alert, both of you don't go to sleep for your own safety.
We'll remember that for future.
That's right. All right, so we got
Quest Fanning and Ray Ray donated earlier, and I said I was going to do it after I got through the timeline, and we're here. So I got 3 of them on my side. No, you got Zena there. This is Royal. He's fluffy. He's kind of an a-hole. That's Teddy. He's not an a-hole. He's also fluffy. You got Zena?
I got Zena.
Okay. And that one's from Ray Ray. All right, dogs are fed. Yes, persons, you should be taking notes always. By the way, speaking of taking notes, let's go to katieZ.com, see what's happening over there.
What?
What you should do is purchase one of these notepads.
Wow.
Right here. Or if you want to keep notes that you take with you, you can also get a Stephen Ignoramus one, but who wants that? You know what I'm saying? We do have the notebooks as well. There you go. Get one of these. Keep all your notes in this Overruled notepad. $14.80. How can you beat that?
Crime in a notebook?
I should make one that says "Not a Get Away with Crime channel."
There you go.
Overruled with Katie said. Keep your crime notes here. Thank you very much, Quest Fanning. I appreciate that. We'll do this one more time. I was just thinking, we have so many of these little milk bones. If we're ever playing poker, we could use these as like fake money. Uh-oh, here's Parson as well.
Parsons too. Thank you.
Everyone is getting in on the drawing for next month. Awesome. Maybe I'll do one of the prizes is when I'll make a new notebook that says like the How to Get Away. I'll create that and that'll be the prize.
There you go.
For March 3rd. I think that'll be the prize.
Not How to Get Away with Crime.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, you can get all of your stuff here. Use discount code KT5 for a 5% discount. That basically pays for shipping over here at katieZ.com. I was told earlier this week that this is one of the best coffee mugs around because of the size as well as the smoothness of it. I think that was I should clip that.
Smoothness?
Like the
texture?
The texture of it. Yeah, the texture and the size. Apparently, I have very good products.
Now, I got a question.
Yeah.
The models. How much are we paying the models?
The models? They come with the website.
Really?
Yeah. I personally like the yellow, but you can get this one in many.
I think it washes her out.
Well, she's yellow, so yeah, that's not a good color for her, but for me, it's a good color.
Yeah.
Like you can't put yellow on yellow; it's too much yellow, right?
Yeah.
I also like it in the purple.
I do like the purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the show. We're almost
I
done,
think
guys.
she's drunk.
Maybe she's drunk.
That's why you got it so cheap.
She's using one of these True Crime with Xena wine glasses right here.
That's what it is.
Okay, sorry. Enough of that. Enough of that. I appreciate anything you guys buy, or I appreciate if you buy any of the things. So thank you if you do that. I did see your donations. I was feeding them as we were going, and we were going to get all of you entered into the drawing. Like I said, I'll create a brand new. You'll have whoever. I won't even make it public to buy until after somebody wins. Yes.
Real quick, Major Victory needs us to start over, so we need to do that real quick.
It's like going on an hour and a half right now.
I tried, Major. She said no.
Thank you very much, Stephen. You don't have to do that.
Who would commit crime in DC? Is this rhetorical?
Did you see the?
I don't know anyone that would.
Let's pull up the mug shots here. Who would commit crime in DC? Who did you get?
I got my two.
Teddy. Thank you. I appreciate
Muchas
you very
gracias, señor.
Who would commit crime in DC? Where's my notes?
Is it my turn?
Okay, so.
Oh, this is you.
Yeah. So a little background. Let's just leave their pictures up. Not from CNN though. What am I doing?
Right there.
NPR is not much better, but we'll take it. There we go. So Malvo shot and killed 21-year-old Kenya Nicole Cook. Let's do that. In Tacoma, Washington. And this is on February 16th, 2002. So we're going back in time. We're going back. They didn't connect any of this till after they arrested them. So that's why I'm kind of doing that in this order. So after they arrested them and started like looking into these guys.
All the puzzle pieces started falling together.
Yeah, all of this stuff started, like all the dominoes started collapsing for these guys. So Malvo shot and killed 21-year-old Kenya Nicole Cook in Tacoma, Washington, and this was the very first murder in these attacks.
And wasn't she a friend of the ex-wife?
She was.
Is that what that was?
She was. She was a friend of Muhammad's ex-wife, and Muhammad put Malvo up to killing her. So gotcha. I think maybe he was like battle testing him with this one, seeing if he would actually
do it.
Yeah, before he took him on this trip, right?
Yep.
So after they killed that lady, Kenya, in Tacoma, they started driving towards DC, and they went the southern route. There's different ways to get there. They went down through the southern states. So on March 19th.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's your.
Yeah, that's me.
Sorry,
so March 19th in 2002. 60-year-old Jerry Taylor is shot and killed in Tucson, Arizona, on a golf course.
Also known as Tuxton.
Huh?
Also known as Tuxton.
Only if you're from
Illinois.
Illinois or Arkansas. So he gets shot on a golf course and passes away. Malvo is given immunity from prosecution and confesses to the killing of Taylor in Tucson. In October of 2006. So it went a while before they actually were able to pin it on these two.
Yeah, I think he confessed. I think he ended up confessing to it after
I think
he
they
was convicted of the other ones.
Yeah, they asked him, said, hey, look, we need to solve this. Did you do it? And his lawyer said, we want immunity from it.
Yeah, and most of these they don't end up prosecuting over, but they were able to solve the crimes.
Correct.
So August 1st. So that's from March 19th. Now it's August 1st, 2002. John Gaeta, age 58, is shot in the neck by Malvo with a 22 caliber revolver in Hammond, Louisiana. Gaeta survives and in 2010 receives a letter of apology from Malvo.
Interesting.
Yep.
September 5th, 2002, Paul LaRufa is shot 5 times by Malvo outside of his restaurant in Clinton, Maryland. LaRufa survives and later testifies in a Virginia trial in support of Muhammad's resentencing to life with the possibility of parole. Now, Muhammad had been given the death penalty,
And that's what he got.
and people were trying to get him to serve life instead of giving him the easy out.
I don't understand people. Like, why?
Some people
Are wrong?
they you can say that they're wrong, or they are preaching
I'm
God's
not saying
word.
they're wrong. They are wrong. Is what I'm saying. Do you want to take care of that while I get this next one?
let's
All
do
right,
that.
We'll let you go take care of whatever's happening in the other room. So September 14th, 2002, Benny Obori, age 22, is shot and wounded outside the Hillendale Beer and Wine Store in Silver Spring, Maryland. So the shooting is linked by circumstances, witnesses, and location of the alleged sniper, but not by ballistics. Hold on, let me turn your thing back on. There you go.
Am I doing the September 15th?
Yes.
Nice. Outside of a Brandywine, Maryland liquor store, Mohammed Rashid is shot and survives. Rashid later identifies Malvo as the shooter while in court. So this is another liquor store deal, except this one survived. And this is a couple of months, not about a month before Alabama, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes. And what's interesting to me is they went all the way to DC, because all of these Maryland ones are like in the DC area. And that, like, there's one in Tucson and one in Louisiana, then in Maryland, and then they go back, like heading back home, and then they turn around and.
Well, they didn't see them connecting the dots, so they felt safe to come back.
Yeah. So September 21st, 2002, this person's name, Millian Wolder-Mariam, age 41, is killed after being shot 3 times outside a liquor store in Atlanta. Ballistics on a 22 caliber handgun links both the Atlanta shooting and the Montgomery shootings. No charges were ever brought by the state of Georgia, because they didn't find out about this till one of them had death and one of them had life. So they which I wish that jurisdictions would not do this. And here's why. In the case I covered last week with Frank, Jessica Lunsford, you guys remember Jessica Lunsford? All of that evidence almost got thrown out. So things can go wrong in trials. Mm-hmm. People can win appeals. But if you have multiple crimes, prosecute all of them. So if they somehow miraculously have
something gets thrown out.
Yeah, some evidence gets thrown out, things get reversed. There's still a pending, even though they have a death sentence or a life in prison sentence in this jurisdiction. In this case, it'd be federal jurisdiction because the cross state lines and stuff. They can go back and be like, okay, well, Georgia wants you now. So, which I guess they could still do, because there's no, statute of limitations on murder. So they could still maybe go back, but I just wish they would just have the sentences waiting for them just in case something gets reversed.
Yep. And Mr. Ignoramus, yes, I have been showing her how to do the modifications to the back of my car. Easy in, easy out. September 21st. Did I already do? No. Another shooting in Montgomery, Alabama liquor store. They really like taking people out at liquor stores.
People are off of their guard, aren't they're there for a reason.
Gas stations, liquor stores.
Exactly.
No, that's yeah, absolutely. The owner, Claudine Parker, is killed, and clerk Kelly Adams is seriously injured. Ballistics. Oh wait, this is
That's the one.
This is the one that started it all off.
When Malvo called in, he thought both of these women died,
Right.
but one of them survived.
The ballistics are matched to the Bushmaster 223. Eyewitness accounts are linked to the DC snipers at this point.
Yep. September 23rd. I don't have dyslexia. What are you talking about? 2002, a shooting outside of a beauty shop in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So we're all the way back in Louisiana. We went all the way to Maryland, and now we're all the way back in Louisiana.
Yeah, Alabama, Louisiana, yeah.
Shooting outside of a beauty shop in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, kills 45-year-old Hong Ballinger. The shop manager. Malvo and Muhammad are charged with capital murder and armed robbery on October 31st. When ballistics matched the Bushmaster 223 rifle, Louisiana does not try Muhammad and Malvo. So they filed charges but never went through with the trial.
September 26th, so a couple nights later, Wright Williams Jr. shot and injured at his grocery store in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Muhammad and Malvo are not charged for this shooting, but the incident is later used to prove similar circumstances in Muhammad's trial.
Yeah. So training in Antigua. Before the DC sniper attacks, Muhammad and Malvo spent time in Antigua, where Muhammad trained Malvo in marksmanship and tactical skills. This period of training laid the groundwork for their subsequent actions in executing all of these attacks. And they also, another thing that came out at trial is the ones where they got out of the car, they had in their car maintenance worker like costume or uniforms. I don't know if they were they didn't get them from like the Halloween
Spirit
place.
Halloween.
Yeah, they didn't get them from Spirit Halloween. They had like maintenance guy clothes. So they basically blended in with the environment. Nobody pays attention to those guys.
It's like walking into a theater with
a ladder,
clipboard and a ladder.
Yeah. Exactly.
No one's going to stop you.
Exactly. John Allen Muhammad, this is a little background on him. He was born on December 31st, 1960 in Baton Rouge. He served in the United States Army from 1978 to 1994, during which he received training, obviously, in guns and marksmanship, but also as a mechanic. Muhammad's military service included the Gulf War, like the first one, right?
Yeah, that would have been the first one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he had an honorable discharge in 1994. After leaving the military, he experienced a bunch of personal and financial difficulties, including those custody battle stuff that we mentioned earlier with his ex-wife. His ex-wife ended up getting full custody of the kids, by the way. And he was not too happy about that. He wanted his kids in his life, which is kind of why he adopted this Malvo kid. And Malvo didn't have his dad in his life, and he was like yearning for a father figure in his life. Yep. He met Lee Boyd Malvo as a teenager in 2001, and the two formed like a father-son relationship, even though they weren't biologically related. Muhammad orchestrated and led the DC sniper attacks using his military training, but Malvo ended up doing most of the shooting. Do you want to do that next section?
Yeah. So let's go over Lee Boyd Malvo. Born in February 18th of 1985 in Kingston. Him with relatives in Jamaica. So she packed her shit, came to the States, and left the little boy with relatives in Jamaica.
Insane, right?
Yeah. Malvo met John Allen Muhammad in 2001 while serving in Antigua with his mother, or living in Antigua with his mother. Muhammad became a father figure to Malvo, and the two developed a very close relationship. Malvo eventually traveled to the United States with Muhammad and was mentored by him at that time. 17 years old at the time of the attacks and was heavily influenced and manipulated by Muhammad. I can tell you it is more than just a heavy manipulation.
It's brainwashing.
Correct. It's not even, heavily influenced. Absolutely brainwashing.
This is like when they train child soldiers and other cultures. He got his hands on this kid in 2001. He was 17 in 2006, so as a young teen, and started teaching him like it's okay to kill bad people. Like, and I say these people are bad. Like he brainwashed this kid, and the reason why I think that, which the FBI doesn't agree with me, whatever, but the reason why I think that is because of what he was saying right when he was arrested till several years later. You can see like the brainwashing sort of wore off, like once he was out of Muhammad's control, if that makes sense. Like he was like very standoffish and, you know, yeah, I killed those people, but whatever, I didn't do anything wrong, right when he was first arrested. But then going through like 10 years later, he's very apologetic. He realizes that he's not trying to place blame on anybody but himself, but he realizes that it was wrong what happened.
Very good possibility that is the case. I'm going to take the flip side of that and say,
Of course you are.
that as much as that is probably what it actually is,
as much as I'm right, okay, go ahead.
No, as much as you are more than likely right on that, you
Yeah.
have to also understand that from a time when he was very, very little until the time he got put into jail, he could pretty much do anything he wanted. Now he's had that freedom taken away completely, and now he's like, okay, how do I get out of here? So he's got all of this influence from these other criminals saying, look, you were a kid. What you have to do now, and you can't do this all at once because you're going to be in here a while, so you might as well take your time doing it, is you need to now start repenting slowly and start writing these letters. That way you can possibly get out of here at some point.
I hope that I'm correct and you're not. It might be the way you're saying, but I also want to point out that one of the things that is heavily mentioned when researching this case is that Malvo did not have a father figure. His actual father left the picture before he was born.
Oh, yeah.
So he didn't have a father figure in his life until he met Muhammad, and he like latched onto that and would be a sponge to anything. Like he was yearning to have this man in his life to show him how to be a man. So I think,
but that is all he knows at that point.
Exactly.
And to give that up to say, oh, I did bad.
Yeah.
That's a hard one to swallow on that.
Yeah. Smith is right. I do believe in redemption, and I hope that there is redemption for. He was a child when this happened for Malvo. This guy, I'm not sure there was any hope for. He's not around anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know about him, but for Lee Malvo, I really hope there's redemption for him. Like that's the truth, So during the trial, did I finish that? Yeah. Or you finished that part. During the trial, evidence revealed that Muhammad and Malvo had meticulously planned the attacks, traveling in a modified vehicle equipped with hidden sniper's nest in the trunk. They intended to extort $10 million from the government to stop the killings and create chaos and fear in the population. Terrorism, basically. And keep in mind, this was like a year after 9/11. This was a year and a month after 9/11. So, like you noticed in that video, that news coverage that I played at the truck stop or the rest stop, one of the older ladies they interviewed was wearing like this a Proud American t-shirt. That was everywhere. Like America was not any more united than it could be in 2002 after 9/11, in my opinion. It was like, it was a different sort of patriotism after 9/11. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah. This is my speculation. Also, Muhammad's ex-wife's speculation. I think the reason why this was carried out in DC is because his ex-wife, who had full custody of his kids, remember, lived in the DC area. And I think he was planning on killing her and making it look like a larger part of this attack. So it was just another number in the crowd of people, of these very random people who were killed, and then he would end up getting custody of his kids back. I think that's what was the plan. He never said that was the plan, but it makes sense to me.
Do we know how old the kids were at this time?
I don't know off the top of my head. They were younger than Malvo, so they were younger than 17, and I want to say they were quite a bit younger than Malvo.
Okay.
Like 10 and 6 maybe. I'm totally guessing, by the way. But anyway, that thing about him trying to kill his wife, that's allegedly my opinion. That hasn't come out in court or anything. So breaks in the case. Major breaks in the case included when Muhammad's friend, Robert Holmes, called the police, suggesting that Muhammad and his friend Malvo were likely the snipers.
Robert Holmes and Malvo spent a long time in the military together.
Mm-hmm. They said in one of those things where they were stationed together, was it Fort Lewis? Am I remembering that correctly? Is that a place? Am I making that up?
I don't think you're making it up. I just don't remember where they were stationed together, because they were stationed together in a couple of places.
Yeah. But
they were close enough to where Robert said that Muhammad was, even though not blood, he was my brother. And he goes, even if he was my blood brother, he goes, I still would have called the police because I really, truly believed he was the one doing it.
Yeah, exactly. The automobile records that they found after the fact. So this is all evidence they're bringing forward in court now. They're not putting this together at the time, right? That numerous traffic stops. Muhammad's car was stopped numerous times, quite near the murders. Mm-hmm. So they keep record of who they stopped. And at the time, if you recall, they were doing these like shut down the whole highway stops. So he was in the area of more than like 3 or 4 of them. Another break in the case came when Malvo called a priest to boast of the killing of killing in Montgomery, Alabama. So the trial begins, right? And I'm just going to go over a little bit of the evidence. There was a significant amount of exculpatory evidence presented during Muhammad's trial in his defense, primarily focused on challenging the reliability of the witnesses and the forensic evidence and the prosecution's narrative. Muhammad's defense team attempted to argue mitigating factors such as mental illness or coercion, which he's the adult in the situation. So who was coercing him is my question. These arguments did not lead to anything significant. It didn't clear him of any guilt or anything like that. But that's what his defense tried. The forensic evidence linking Muhammad to the crimes played a significant role in his conviction, including the ballistic evidence, right? The bullets recovered from the victims and the walls, and because a lot of them went through the victims and ended up somewhere else. Some of them were recovered from the victims.
The 223s are pretty quick little.
It's like a 22
on steroids.
On steroids.
Yeah, it's
they're little.
It's
and
a
fast.
little. Yeah, it's 1,700 feet per second. It's pretty quick.
You just know that off the top of your head.
Okay.
I don't even feel like I need to look that up to see if he's right. I believe him. Witnesses testified to seeing Muhammad at or near some of the crime scenes, and surveillance footage placed him in the vicinity of certain shootings. Muhammad's involvement in the planning and executing the attacks was supported by evidence of his prior military training, the modification of his vehicle into a sniper's nest, and the strategic positioning during the shootings. You can get this part.
All right, so this is going over Lee Boyd Malvo. Exculpatory evidence. Malvo's defense heavily relied on portraying him as a victim of manipulation and coercion by John Allen Muhammad.
Like, I can see the coercion in his defense, but I don't understand why Muhammad was arguing. Like, did he just see what Malvo was arguing and like copy him?
Probably. They probably tried to
get in your spot.
Mix a couple of them together.
Get in your spot. Go.
And they tried to do the coercion versus having him as an equal participant in the crimes. Okay. Testimony from the mental health experts and witnesses who knew Malvo before and during the attacks may have been able to present and demonstrate his
Susceptibility.
his influence and control from John.
Yeah.
Malvo's defense likely sought to emphasize his age at the time of the crimes, 17, his troubled upbringing, and his psychological vulnerabilities in order to build a case to diminish his culpability. So what they were trying to do is say, hey, look, he's a young kid. He's heavily influenced by this guy who's acting like a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
He's not all there, he can't possibly be of equal playing field, when it comes to these crimes. He was only doing what he was told. So yeah, that makes sense.
And
there.
like that exculpatory evidence really makes sense to me. The one for Muhammad does not.
Right.
No,
absolutely. I think they did a very detailed analysis under Malvo and got him the just sentence.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So Malvo's fingerprints, this is the inculpatory evidence. The Malvo's fingerprints and DNA evidence was found at the crime scenes, tied him directly to the shootings. Testimony from witnesses who observed Malvo during the attacks or interacted with him, and him and Muhammad before or after certain shootings implicated them in the crimes. The one at the Ponderosa, do you know they went in and ate dinner after they shot that guy?
No, I did not.
They did. They didn't leave the scene at all. They went in and ate dinner.
Well, that's one way to see what the cops are doing.
Yep, exactly.
I'd like a window seat over there, please. I want to see what's going on outside.
Yeah. Malvo's own statements to law enforcement officers, recorded conversations, writings indicated his involvement in planning, carrying out the attacks, as well as awareness of the criminal nature of the attacks. Malvo's participation in planning, execution, and concealment of the crime, such as his assistance in modifying the vehicle used for the shootings, also served to incriminate him. So John Muhammad ended up pleading not guilty to the charges against him. Throughout his trial, he maintained his innocence and denied any involvement in any of the attacks, which is kind of crazy that they arrested him in the car with the gun. You were in the car that was made into a sniper's nest with the weapon that we matched to the crimes. But he's like,
I was a hitchhiker.
Nah, didn't do it.
I got picked up.
Yeah.
Wait, hold it. That's your car, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the car was registered.
Yeah. I guess it wasn't even any water anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So Malvo initially pled not guilty to the charges against him. However, as the legal proceedings progressed, he and his defense team shifted their approach. Malvo later expressed remorse for his actions and entered into a plea agreement with prosecutors in which he agreed to plead guilty to some of the charges in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. So, verdict time. John Muhammad was found guilty on all counts in the jury trial. The verdict included convictions for multiple counts of capital murder, conspiracy, and terrorism-related charges. And Malvo was also found guilty on multiple counts. He took that plea deal, though, and that including capital murder and the conspiracy charges and stuff like that.
All right, real quick.
Yeah.
All right, so there's some chatter going on in.
Oh, I forgot you guys were here. Hi.
All right, so there was nothing modified with the actual muzzle area of the rifle. What they did was, because they were able to just have the muzzle barely out of the actual vehicle, all of the gas and everything would go back into the vehicle itself. The muzzle flash would be the only thing that would be on the outside, which is why they did most of it during the day, so it wouldn't bring attention. But no, none of the rounds were subsonic. They were actual, just regular rounds that you could pick up at the grocery store, or not the grocery store, but
it depends on what state you're in.
At the time, Walmart.
Yeah.
At the time, don't think did they have Dick's Sporting Goods back then? But
Yeah,
they did have
they did.
Sportsman's and stuff to that nature.
Cabela's.
Cabela's.
Really?
They didn't have Cabela's, but they had Bass Pro Shops.
Yeah, any of the
Right. So they didn't have any modifications to
gun
the
store.
actual barrel or the muzzle. The modification was mainly done with the actual vehicle so that it was less likely to be seen from outside forces or outside people.
Yeah. So I think I outlined that. Okay, so sentencing. So in December 2003, Muhammad was sentenced to death in Virginia for his role in the shootings and was executed by lethal injection on November 10th, 2009. Malvo, who was a minor at the time of the attacks, was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Subsequently, some of his sentences have been overturned or modified due to the Supreme Court rulings regarding juveniles and life sentences. So I think it was 2012, maybe. It might have been later than that. I might have a note in here somewhere about it. But
2012 or 2014.
yeah, they
somewhere in
made it so that if somebody commits a crime under the age of 18 that would warrant life in prison or the death penalty, they cannot do that anymore. They have to have the eligibility of parole, which is why I was saying we need to convict in multiple states because then, you know, anyway. Both Muhammad and Malvo's convictions were subject to numerous appeals and legal challenges. Muhammad's appeals focused on issues such as his mental health and the fairness of his trial. And while Malvo's raised questions about his status as a juvenile at the time of the crimes, the constitutionality of the sentencing of a minor to life without the possibility of parole. Despite various legal challenges, their convictions were upheld after exhausting appeals. Okay, so we already did that on November 10th. What else is November 10th? Why does that day sound familiar to me?
A lot has happened in just the past 24 hours as the sniper manhunt literally went nationwide.
I may have messed up. I may have messed up bad.
all of the
Is this the one? Hold on, we're getting there.
A district judge has
There we
tossed
go.
2 life sentences for one of the D.C. snipers. In a ruling today, a U.S. district judge said Lee Boyd Malvo is entitled to new sentencing hearings after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that mandatory life sentences for juveniles are unconstitutional. Malvo was arrested in 2002 when he was 17 years old for a series of shootings in Virginia, Maryland, and the D.C. area, shootings that left 10 people dead and 3 others injured. Malvo's accomplice in the shootings, John Allen Muhammad, was executed in 2009. We went through the CBS News archives and found this clip from the CBS Evening News on November 10, 2009, the day that Muhammad was executed. Bob Orr reports.
October 3rd, 2002, suburban Washington exploded.
A man is being killed in front of me. A man just fell in the parking lot.
There's a lady, she's not moving.
4 people shot execution style in broad daylight, each killed by a single sniper round.
We weren't sure if it was a terrorist style attack. We weren't sure how many shooters we had out there.
Assistant Chief Drew Tracy led the SWAT team response.
People were terrified. People were ducking behind cars and people not going to work and some children not going to schools.
Over the next 3 weeks, 6 more people were gunned down, and 2 others, including a middle school student, were wounded before police finally identified the snipers and cornered them at a Maryland rest stop. Chief Tracy vividly recalls the takedown of John Allen Muhammad and his teenage partner, Lee Boyd Malvo.
I walked over towards Muhammad, and when I looked at him, he had a look about him that was just pure evil.
That's a good idea, Quest. Separate sentencing for each separate murder. So, like, let's say each one is like 30 years.
Yeah.
For what was there, 15? Where there's 13 and then other like wounded.
The other thing they can do, and I think that the mandatory sentencing is what the Supreme Court threw out. It's not that it was they couldn't have life, a life sentence. It was a mandatory sentence of life without parole.
And that was in 2017, by the way. I did come across it in my notes. Did I say 12? 2000. It was 2017.
Yeah, I thought it was 14.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We were both wrong.
happens a lot.
Oh, geez, here they come.
They smelt it.
I thought there was just one here, so I got one dog biscuit out. All right. If anybody wants to call in, I put the link there. If not, we're going to wrap it up here in just a second. But I want to thank everyone for coming, and we're going to give these dogs some treats real quick.
Quest,
Thank you, Quest.
thank you.
Cheers to a milk bone. I got these two. We have a horde of dogs here. It's a lot. It is a lot.
Can you pull this up?
I think that's a whole 45-minute documentary.
No. Just a picture. Like this, what you're seeing right there.
Oh.
All right. So if you take a look at that top left picture, that is not how all of this was actually done. And this is actually more in line with the stuff that we were talking about.
This down here is not either.
That one there is not either, correct.
A lot of misinformation out there, guys.
Yep. So, but this is how they do stuff like this overseas, and even here in the States, apparently from time to time, is they will modify their entire vehicles so that they can just be a rolling sniper's
nest. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, that's the show, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget discount code KT5 for anything at this store. I'm going to create a new notebook by next week, and that'll be the prize next month. But there's t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, anything you want. You can also get Steven stuff over there.
You can get rid of the Christmas ornaments.
Why? It has a magnet on the back, so it could be a fridge magnet too.
You need to get a different thing. That's a Christmas ornament. Christmas is gone.
Look. It can be a fridge magnet too. See? We have one of these on our fridge. You know this.
I know.
Anyway.
I also know it's going away.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
For coming. Let me know in the comments after this uploads if you like having him here. We might bring him on more often. We'll see. Especially when it has to do with tactical stuff. He's very good at explaining the tactical stuff. So any cases that I'm covering with tactical stuff, I think that's I don't remember what the exchange was this morning, but it was something tactical. And I'm like, maybe you should sit in on this one. So that's it. That's the show.
Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to sit in on this. I appreciate it.
Coming up, March 3rd, we're going to do a Crime Land episode because I'm so sick of researching. It's a lot, guys. Huh?
You've done a couple of them.
Well, I did Aileen Wuornos, and then I did Jessica Lunsford, and then this one, like almost all back to back to back. I did have a Crime Land in there. Then on the 10th, we're going to do the Smooth Criminal music stream. Crime Behind the Music, I guess we're calling it. If you guys think of a better name for that, let me know.
When are we going to do another game night?
Oh.
I mean, that's usually a Friday or a Saturday night, isn't it?
I haven't decided when March game night. I'll have to check my calendar when we're going to do a Friday night crime. I don't have it up there at all. It's like I forgot Friday night crime
even existed.
And game night
Number
even
2,
existed.
Sorry, you fell off the list.
Yeah, I don't have them. Like I have a board up here because I can't remember stuff. I have a very bad memory and I'm kind of dumb. So I have a board up here to help me remember stuff. And I didn't even put them on there. I'll have an answer for you by the 3rd, maybe. By the 10th at the latest, when Friday Night Crime and game night's going to be. I ordered a new game, by the way. So those of you who enjoy game nights, so I'm going to pull it up here. You guys are going to be excited. I'm excited about this. It was Amazon. Hold on. Let me find it. Let's pull it up. And it was it like Strange Deaths? What was that game called?
I think it was Strange Deaths. I have an easy way to find it.
Yeah, here it is. Stupid Deaths.
Stupid Deaths. Yeah.
So I ordered this game, and the reason I ordered this specific one is because it's another one of these where it's going to be true or false answers, and that worked out really well with the one that I have back there, the dumb criminal one. But it's stupid death, so it's going to have a card with a stupid death on it, and then you're going to be able to do the true or false. So hopefully that'll be just as much fun as the dumb criminal ones. And I'll let you know.
Like some Darwin.
Yeah.
Darwin Awards.
Yeah, like Darwin Awards. Yeah. So I'll let you guys know once that arrives. Like I said, I ordered it. It's not here yet. So once it arrives, I'll schedule a game night. I'll let you know. Also coming up in March on the 17th, we have the Leprechaun stream with Steven will be here in IRL. He'll be sitting right here. We're
Little Crimes?
Yeah. Maybe all three of us can do it. We'll see. I don't know how that would work logistically, but we might figure it out. You never know. And then Daniel Holtzclaw also in March sometime. So that's where we're at, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. I almost said Crimeland Overruled episode. Different show. Crimeland's going to be next week. And we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys. Oh, did you have anything to plug? No. He doesn't have anything to plug. See you next time, guys. Bye.
Understand what you're saying. We're late stage in the catacombs, shuffling a single card today, broken table trying to play some ping pong. It's not subtle when we celebrate a magazine with the pages torn. My body cracks, knees buckling. I got a bad case of brain fog. Said I got a bad case of brain fog. I'ma take my butt home. So I'ma take my butt home.